What's going on, Bengals fans? Stone Shields on hand for another edition of Bengals Breakdown. Cincinnati got great news from the NFL in regards to the salary cap, and that is what we are going to be breaking down here on today's show. Hopefully, some promising information that the Bengals received today, and hopefully their front office can move forward with it and make some steps in the right direction to make this team more competitive in 2025. But before we get into that, make sure you guys hit that sub button. If you haven't done so already, it's youtube.com/BengalsTV. Hopefully let's get to 17K subscribers here on this video alone. I think we can do it. Just need 194 to make that happen. Help me out. Hit that sub button right now for Cincinnati Bengals coverage all offseason long. All right, so the Bengals have roughly $46 million in salary cap space to work with, but that's going to go up, and it's going to go up a lot because there's a lot of people on this roster that are going to get caught. We've talked about several of them here on the show, certainly Sheldon Rankins, Alex Kappa, a couple of examples of guys that probably are getting cut, really inevitable, only a matter of time before some of these guys go. But salary cap is only going to increase, creating more cap space each and every season, and we got some details from the NFL today at what exactly the cap number is going to look like going forward. Let's take a look here at what the cap has done on a per-year basis. Look at that. It just continues to go up each and every single season. You get there to 2020, and then for the first time, it goes down from 2020 to 2021. But hey, what happened there? That's right, a global pandemic. COVID happened there. So barring a pandemic, this thing is going to go up each and every year. And in fact, it's going to skyrocket because you're talking about, the TV contracts, new TV deals that the NFL has, all the, games, playoff games on streaming services. That costs money, right? And that causes the cap to go up as well. Also, just inflation in general, to be honest with you. When you're talking about the NFL, it is a very, very popular product. Look, I love Major League Baseball, but, the majority of the world doesn't view baseball the same way as they view the National Football League. This product is incredibly popular, and it's only going to continue to get more popular, and that's why the cap is only going to continue to go up. So more cap space now and in the future is obviously going to help the Cincinnati Bengals because it allows them to spend more now and ultimately spend more in the future as well. And really, with Cincinnati, the things we talk about with this organization, what's our biggest gripe? Oh, they don't spend enough money. They're going to really have an opportunity to do that here going forward as the cap continues to go up. Up next, we're going to talk about some massive details you need to hear on the salary cap. We're going to be breaking it down here on Bengals Breakdown. Some new information has come out from the league as far as the numbers go. And again, this really could impact Cincinnati not only in the short term, but the long term as well. Leads us, though, to the pinned comment of today's video. Will the Bengals actually spend more this offseason? Again, the cap's going up. But are they going to adapt? Are they going to spend more? Or they kind of just do what they always do and be a cheap organization? Let me know in the comments section. Type Y for yes or N for no. If that ad comes here on YouTube, that's totally fine. Take advantage of it. Get down in the comments. Let us know what you think. All right, so Brett Coleman, I really thought explained this very well. And we're going to break down exactly what he said. Here's what Brett had to write. He said the salary cap is going to explode again, and it's all because of this change in how Nielsen measured ratings. Starting this year, they're leaning into some data directly from smart TV manufacturers to measure viewing habits in addition to the traditional at-home panel method. This means NFL ratings, in particular from Sunday Ticket on YouTube, are going to be more accurately measured. And that number is going to be way bigger than you think because of just how many Gen Z and millennials consume football on streaming services. More accurate ratings means the league's next broadcast rights negotiation in 28 and 29 is going to be way more expensive, which ultimately means massive jumps in the salary cap. If I'm a GM, that means next year, or maybe even this year, I can sign some truly outrageously backloaded deals with a ton of funny money that all slams home in 2030 and not even care about the math. Well, the Bengals got a double dose of good news, as we will talk about here. Here's kind of the second part that came out a little bit later in the afternoon from Dan Graziano. Here's what he tweeted. The NFL Today informed teams that the 2025 per-team salary cap will fall in the range of $277.5 million to $281.5 million, way up from last year's $255.4. Cap will have increased by more than $53 million over the last 2 years. Really, that is just an astronomical jump. And that really is unbelievable that it's really going to continue to do this on a yearly basis, again, barring a global pandemic or anything like that. So this is the approach that Cincinnati needs to have, right? Similar to that of the Philadelphia Eagles if they want to contend. They're going to have to be really aggressive, spend that money, and push that money down the line, right? As, Coleman talked about there, should be worried about what happens in 2030, right? We should be focused on now. You have a franchise quarterback. You have the best quarterback in the National Football League. Your mindset should be going out there on a yearly basis trying to vie for a Lombardi trophy. As I mentioned, we've seen the Eagles do this, right? They're paying guys all over the place. They're paying the quarterback. They're paying 2 receivers. They're paying guys all over their defense. They're paying their offensive line. How do they do it? Well, they maneuver the cap, right? And they push money deeper down into the future, and that's something that Cincinnati should adopt. They have the space to make this happen regardless, but with the cap going up even more, that's just more reason that things should be able to get done with Trey Hendrickson, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. It's a competitive advantage not to do this, right? You don't want to be known as this cheap organization who just happens to have an all-world quarterback, and you don't go out there and you don't capitalize on the time that you have with Joe Burrow. Right? It's a competitive disadvantage not to go out there and try to do those things because there are teams around the league that are going to be doing those things. And if you don't keep up with them, you're going to be in trouble. Now, we will be here all offseason long talking about the Cincinnati Bengals. Don't miss out on any of our coverage. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/Bengals TV. Again, trying to get to 17K here on this video alone. Help us out. Hit that sub button right now. So Coleman continued to talk about the Eagles' strategy when it came to, how exactly they approach things in the offseason. Here is what Coleman had to say. He said, keep in mind the NFL agreed to this media rights deal back in 2021, and then Jeff Lurie, who has a background in film and TV production and knows that the league will be going back to the table in 2029, signed Jalen Hurts to an extension 2 years later. That looks like this. Chess, not checkers, folks. Now let's go back to some of the comments that Duke Tobin had to make at the Senior Bowl with Kelsey Conway, and we've heard Tobin kind of talk about this, kind of all the talk of, well, he can't take too much of the pie, right? There's got to be enough to go around to everybody. Here's what he had to say in relation to T. Higgins specifically. It's going to be hard in terms of trying to bring him back. We feel like we have the resources to do it, but it all depends on how the negotiation goes and whether they're willing to accept wanting to come back at a number that makes sense for everybody. And what we do with T going forward, I've always been very upfront in my desire to have T. Higgins on our team. I've never not been upfront about that, and that desire continues, but we have to be able to come together with his representation on what that means and what the right number is for his experience, his play time, and his production. So Tobin has shown concerns like this in the past, saying that it might not be feasible to pay all of their stars. Really, my message here is don't fall for that. It's just not true, especially with the cap continuing to go up. The Bengals have plenty of space in order to make this happen and bring these guys back. It's just kind of changing their ways, altering the way that they structure contracts, and making it happen. Again, it comes down to whether or not you want to be a team that is competing for championships on a year-in and year-out basis, a serious organization. And you just happen to have a gift that you have, in my opinion, the best quarterback in the National Football League to make that happen. And also of note, the structure of your organization probably needs some adjusting as well. There was a report that came out with the Bengals scouting department, right? And there was like 3 or 4 guys in there. Like, what are we doing? What is this? Is this amateur hour here? Cincinnati has to understand that this isn't the Bengals of, several years ago. It's not Ryan Finley out there playing quarterback. No disrespect to him, all right? This should be a team that is competitive every single year, and as an organization, you have to make sure you are altering so you are under that theory as well and are doing things in the most professional manner possible. That's something, of course, Cincinnati hasn't been known to do. What is your confidence level in the Bengals front office? Let me know in the comments section. Scale it for us 1 to 10 right now. Now, look. Obviously, there are some hoops that you got to jump through, right? You're paying Joe Burrow, and hopefully you're paying Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson as well. They're certainly going to garner sizable deals. So that does make it a little bit more complicated to manage the cap, but you certainly can get it done. Again, gonna keep bringing up the Philadelphia Eagles, as is every other team, right? It's copycat league, all that nonsense, right? Well, it is, and they just won the Super Bowl, so they're clearly doing something right. They've shown you how doable this is, and again, down the line, 2029, 2030, who cares? We're living now. This is 2025. We're trying to win now. We can't be worried about what things are going to look like at that point. You got to go out there. You got to pay your stars, and you got to take advantage of this cap going up. I want this team to be aggressive. Everybody in the fan base wants this team to be aggressive. It all goes back to the quarterback. You got Joe Burrow. There's no reason you should be missing the playoffs when he plays every single game. That should never happen. That's ridiculous, in fact, that it happened. You are capable of so much more than that. You don't want to be a team that's just a fringe playoff team. You can do that, by the way, with Joe Burrow. You could roll out there and say, nah, we're not changing our ways. We're not paying people. We're just going to go with Joe Burrow and roll with it. He'll make you a fringe playoff team each and every year, but that's not what you should be. You should be a team that goes on runs. You should be a team that dominates the AFC North, goes back and forth with Baltimore, and you're pretty much in the AFC Championship every year, every other year. That's where you should be right now. You have the best quarterback on the planet, in my opinion, and as each day goes on, I just get more confident with that statement, and I really believe that the Bengals have it there in Joe Burrow. It's time that they take advantage of it and start acting like a winning organization.